going to talk to you about some things. Now, listen, this has been a whole ass journey. Entrepreneurship has been a whole ass journey, and I can't tell you how much I failed. Hold on. Okay, so we got sound. All right. So as I was saying, entrepreneurship for me has been quite a journey. I actually stumbled into it by accident, in a way. I had twins. So this is 2014. I had twins. Um, I had an eviction at the top of that year of 2014. I had an eviction. I had a 24-hour, what do you call that notice where they tell you to leave? I forgot what it's called. Um, Evacuate notice. I don't know what it's called. But anyway, I had a 24-hour notice on my door that Friday. Thankfully, in Miami, they didn't do evictions on Saturday. The sheriff doesn't come out on a Saturday. So I had from Friday to Sunday to get all my stuff out of my apartment as much as I could, to the point where I was sleeping on the floor with 4-month-old twins. Yeah, because this was February. They were born in October. So with 4-month-old twins, I was sleeping on the floor. And on Monday, thank God for my friends for my support because they rallied around me and they told me to go to the court and deal with it. So I was able to get a stay. Uh, because the reason I was being evicted is because I had been on bed rest and then maternity, and then I went back to work. But in all that time, I wasn't really getting paid. I had short-term disability, but it only paid so much, and it took 30 days to pay. So I was quite behind. And anyway, so that was the situation at that time. So I had these twins. I went back as a teacher, and I became very displeased with the fact that I was someone who was caring for other people's children and I couldn't care for my own. So I went back to work from January to June. June is when Florida gets out. And that summer, though, I didn't have another job, and we didn't get paid over the summer unless you elected to take a lower pay for the year. So I didn't have any money for that summer, but I had these twins to care for, and at the time they were 8 months. And an opportunity was presented to me to join um, Jamberry, which is a multi-level marketing. So that was my first foray into entrepreneurship, and I was good with just doing that, you know. But the very next year, something amazing happened. There was this thing called live stream, and in August of live stream, August of the following year, in that 2015, I saw all these people who were talking about personal branding, and I was like, "What is that?" And so again, I became displeased with just working in a company because that was never my goal. And I started this journey of personal branding. So in 2015, I got my first coach. I paid my last $99. Luckily, that's all it cost at the time. I paid my last $99, and that is how I began entrepreneurship. So it was kind of an accidental, on purpose journey. So I want to start there because what I'm going to talk to you about is the lie that I bought into. And the lie that made me feel completely like crap because I could not achieve it. So that lie was, if I could do it, you could do it. I don't like to hear people say that because they make it extremely simplistic about the journey someone else has to go through to achieve even their level of success. In fact, often when they talk about their own journey, they simplify the heck out of their journey. Um, and sometimes, well, a lot of the times, as I see with my clients, people are ashamed of some parts of their journey, and so they don't actually share any of the rough spots, any of the real parts that help them achieve their level of success, whatever that level may look like. So that whole "if I can do it, you can do it too" thing is like a lie by omission. You know, so is it true that everybody has a chance to achieve success? Absolutely. But what isn't being shared is the journey. Good morning, Delmar. What isn't being shared is the work that's going to have to go into it. Earlier, yesterday, I shared a meme or post that I saw in an entrepreneurs group. about choices. It's like you could buy the iPhone or you can invest in your business. My business didn't cost the same as the iPhone, and I wouldn't have a business without an iPhone, first of all. Um, or you can get healthy, or you can go and drink wine, or whatever the stupid meme was that people bought into, and they were like, ah, yes, hallelujah, praises. And I was just like, this is so simplistic because the journey people have to go on to achieve that success, or any level of success, is quite different. Everybody's path is laid out quite different. But not only that, but there are some levels, some obstacles, some things that have to be, if not overcome, broken through. Because overcoming is sometimes a little simplistic too. Uh, and the work of overcoming is just as hard as breaking through. So I want to make sure that this is not so rambly. I do have a tendency to ramble. So I want to state at some points, y'all. I actually got notes today. Like I was gonna just jump on, and I was like, let me write now what I'm gonna say, and then all of a sudden, I wrote down a lot of stuff. So I was like, okay, let me simplify it into these notes. So here's my notes. All right, so I want to talk about this. Now, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I learned about this in business class. I took one business class in college, and it changed my life. And I don't mean, oh my God, it was so different. There were things that I learned in that class that stuck with me my whole life, and I think um, uh, that while those changes weren't immediate, it was the catalyst for change. So, like for instance, job fit. When I learned about job fit, I started to understand that teaching wasn't a fit for me, no matter how great people thought it was. I was like, but I don't fit here, and we don't fit together. And then I learned also about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think in an education class, if I hadn't. So his are based off of. It used to be seven, I thought, but it's five. So physiological needs. Hey, Joanna. Physiological needs. These are your very basic needs, your very, very, very basic needs: air, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, and even the ability to reproduce is put here as well. The next level of needs is your safety needs. So that's your personal security, employment, resources, health, property. So that is your next level of basic. It's a little bit more than basic. And then you have your next need: love and belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection. And then the fourth level is esteem, respect, self esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom. And then the fifth level they have is self actualization. So that is the desire to become the most that one can be. Now, I do differ a little bit from Maslow in this. I think desire is one of the first things. So I'm gonna talk to you about the three things you need to have the entire way of this hierarchy that I'm about to give you. First of all, you have to be exposed. Okay, you have to be exposed. Sorry, guys, I just received it a different way as well. So we're gonna go with that first one. Um, we're gonna go with my first way, and then I'll see how God's gonna work this in. Um, but anyway, so you have to be exposed. That's the first thing that you need. So as I was saying, in the very beginning of the story, I had my kids. I didn't know what to do. I had $99 left in my bank account, and then I was exposed. I was brought into a Jamboree party, and I was like, oh, here's an opportunity to make money. This is why women, especially stay-at-home moms, are brought into the MLM world so much, is because it's an exposure to an opportunity. So I had to be exposed to that. But then the next level of exposure was being on Periscope live stream and hearing about personal brand, because something wasn't right with Jamberry for me. I was like, I'm not Jamberry. I want to be Shaneequa. And so I had to figure that out. Who's Shaneequa, right? But I had to be exposed to something called personal branding because I've never heard it before. And then from there, I had to be exposed to this next level of you can make money by digital products, by the things that you know. You don't actually have to sell your body. And by that, I mean like your hands, You don't have to make a product. You don't have to be those people. And trust me, I've been jealous of handicraft people. Like if you can braid hair, you have a skill to survive your whole life. I don't have that skill. That's why I cut this off. And y'all see I ain't even doing well with this because I'm trying to get braids. I'm trying to. I hope I can get some by my birthday. Is there any blessed goddess hands who could grab this thing? But anyway, I digress. So I had to be exposed. So exposure is one of the first things, is the first thing that needs to happen. And sometimes that exposure for us is in church when you hear a certain scripture or something, or that exposure could be TV, or that exposure could be going to a friend's house, or that exposure could be career day at school. The thing is, you have to be exposed to something more than what you usually see. So exposure is the very first thing. The second thing you need to have before we get into the hierarchy, the second thing you need to have is desire. I've been exposed to a lot that I don't care for. Trust me. So I don't have a desire for some of those things, but I had a desire when I was exposed to the MLM Jamberry. Jamberry was white as hell, and I mean that in everything that I'm saying. Jamberry was completely white. MLM world is, for the most part, very white, um, and white women driven, uh, and bottle blonde driven too. But anyway, so it was very white, and there was like one or two black people in that particular group, and I was like, I want to be the first. And so there was a desire for me to be the first to create a pathway to be a pioneer among these other two black women so that other black women could see that there are other opportunities for them to jump on. So I had a desire. So first I had exposure, then I had a desire. I had a desire for that, but I also had a desire to take care of my family. I also had a desire to one of the things that drew me in about it was the fact that they were celebrating people's wins, right? So it was like, congratulations, she made such and such sale. And here I was in education getting no accolades, getting no recognition. And so I desired to be seen. I desired to be appreciated. So I had to be exposed and then I had to have desire. The third thing that has to be in place in order for you to even step on this hierarchy um, is action. So it's not enough to see it. It's not enough to want it. You also have to put it into action. This goes to all those vision board things, right? All these vision board parties and whatnot. Oh, I want so I can see it. What is it? Write the vision, make it plain. That's beautiful. But the next part is to run. That's the next part of it. So run who may seeth it. And he's talking about you run, you do action. So you have to have exposure. You have to have the desire, then you have to have action. So I signed up my $99 to join Jamberry. I signed up $99 to join my first coach because I wanted to learn the things that I didn't know. And it wasn't a good program, by the way. Thank God I only paid $99 for it. And then that person went on to sell it for hundreds. And I was like, ain't no way in hell I would have paid hundreds for that. But anyway, I digress because that's part of the problem. Um, anyway, so those are the three things you have to have. You have to have exposure to something being better or something more. You have to have desire to want that. And then you have to have action. You have to put action into place and make it real. So let's talk about the actual hierarchy of alignment. And this is why I'm naming it this. Okay, so again, we're going to go with the base. You have to have financial wellness, right? And what I mean by that is like things have to be in place for you financially. So if you are a person who is a paycheck behind paycheck, as I was, what could happen is that you are programmed with the same stuff that you might hear in your community. So I was programmed with those knowledges, the knowledges. Thank you, Delmar. I was programmed with the not the knowledge, the mantras of I take one step forward, I take two steps back. I was programmed with that. I was programmed with living paycheck to paycheck. I was programmed with robbing from Peter to pay Paul. I was programmed with this financial illness. Okay. Watching my own mother, for instance, money was never enough. money was never enough. Watching my family, money was never enough. So I was programmed with financial illness. I had a sickness of that money was never going to be enough. I also had an illness of people using me for just my money, right? Because that's the programming. So you have to have financial wellness. Okay, hold on. Back up. And first one is actually physical, but let me start with financial because I think that makes more sense. You have to have financial wellness, right? So what that means is you have to have the steps. You have to take the steps to better yourself financially. So this could be through reading books. This could be through um, going through, different YouTube programs. You have to seek out people who are where you actually want to be and not celebrity status people. And I don't mean like celebrity status as in, unless this is your thing, as in like actors and singers. I'm talking about celebrity status as in these coaches. People are wooing you with these six-figure lunches, five-figure this, five-figure that, and now I think we're on seven figures. I think that's the new buzz. So you don't want to follow the people who are financial celebrities, so to speak. Even Dave Ramsey is very harmful in the way he teaches about finances. You have to find the people who are where you actually want to be and figure out why it is that you want to be there and make those adjustments on your financial level. So if you are a person, for instance, like myself, who was living paycheck behind paycheck, because I won't even say paycheck to paycheck, there were things that just didn't get paid until, like the next paycheck. So what that meant was I was exposed to someone saying, well, split your payments in half. So it would be pay half of them on this one, pay half of them on that one. Same stuff. But what would happen is they would be paid in whole by the time I got there. That worked for me. Um, the other thing is to respect your money. So, one of the reasons why money was going in and out of my life is because I had no intention, no purpose for it. So, if I got, say, like a tax return, right? I would get just enough. So I would get enough to go get a car. I would get enough to take my family on a trip. And then by the next 2 or 3 weeks, I was out of money. So um, it's so funny how fast that goes. But if you have intention and purpose behind it, if you respect your money, and then it will respect and love you back. So I had to learn how to become financially well. That was one of the first things that I had to do. Um, for this past year, I've had like no job. I've worked in business, but we will get to what that means on a mental, spiritual level. But financially, I've been okay because I respect what comes through my house and I have intention for what I'm using it for. Um, so let's go to number two, which was supposed to be number one, but it's also physical. So you do need to have physical wellness. And one of the reasons why I did have this as the first step is because it kind of goes along with the physiological wellness. So you do have to be in a place where you feel that your food needs are met, where you feel that your shelter needs are met. Now, it may not be your own apartment, it might even be a shelter, or it may be living with somebody. But as long as you have off of your head the the survival mode of that, then you would be in a better place. Like you could actually start taking steps towards. It's about learning how to use the help that you're given, so that one, you're not feeling ashamed about it. You're actually using it as a stepping ladder, as a stepping stone, right? So physical wellness is absolutely needed for you to be in alignment. Because if God came to you and was like, hey, and sometimes he does this early. He's like, hey, I'm going to use you to do this. Then you might go, but God, I don't even live nowhere. Or, you know, I can't even feed my family. So how am I going to do that? Then you're going to be in resistance to getting in alignment. Trust me, I know all this. This is coming from experience. So you're going to be in absolute resistance to getting into alignment because you have to handle those things first. So your physical wellness has to be handled, your financial wellness. And again, Everything is about levels. So you will cycle this and do it again and again and again. But this is on your first level in order to get into alignment. So again, you have to have exposure, you have to have desire, and you have to have action in place the whole way through. The whole way through. Okay. So if you want to get that physical wellness, that could also mean if what's keeping you off of the camera is the way that you look, then you're going to have to figure that part out. Do something about it. And that doing something about it could be something so small and so minute. So, like, and minute, the same thing. So, like, for instance, one of the things that I did in April, and I use it as a challenge for myself, but I cut out bread, chips, and bread, chips, and oh my God, what was it? I can't even remember the third thing I cut out. Oh, rice. Because, you eat a lot of rice. That's how I grew up. So I cut out bread, chips, and rice. This is intentional because later on this year, I'm actually having bariatric surgery. So these are the things that I'm going to need to cut out anyway. So for my physical wellness, so that I don't regress or become that kind of person, I'm doing things little by little. And I didn't cut out ice cream because I had me some. I didn't cut out potatoes totally, like I had some fries. But that would be the next level. I will remove and the next thing, and add the next thing too. So doing more. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes of movement would work for me. Um, because I have become very displeased with the way that I looked, and that was keeping me off of camera. So, physical wellness is very important as well. As long as you're taking those steps, as long as you're moving forward, then you can still do those things until you're where you want to be, if that makes sense. Like so, like right now, I'm on live. I only stopped doing the potatoes and all, I mean not the potatoes, the chips and all those things, just on April 1st. It is April 10th. So obviously stuff ain't totally better. I did lose 5 pounds. Hey, but stuff isn't totally better. But I'm making those steps, right? Because I'm documenting my journey. I'm going on my way. All right, so that's financial, that's physical. The third thing, and here's where I'm like, what's the order? And I think this is like the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the PEMDAS, whatever comes first for you. Like whatever is your biggest block, that's what you're gonna chip at. And so that next one is spiritual wellness, right? You gotta have spiritual wellness. One of the things that I forgot to do in my journey was I forgot to consult God. Whatever that is for you, it's for you. But for me, it's God. I also had to relearn who God was or is for me, as opposed to who I was taught God was, you know? So thank you, Delmar. Thanks for celebrating my 5 pounds. Okay, um, so like for instance, we're taught in some people, we're taught that God is like this punishing God. We're also taught, like, for instance, the poor you'll have with you always, and some people think that has to be them. There are different ways to be poor, and it's not necessarily financial, right? Um, but the other thing too is I forgot, like when people say fear is face everything and rise or whatever it is, forget everything and run. Fear to me was revealed as forget everything already revealed. In other words, forget the fact that you even have a purpose. Now that's fear. You can't fear the things you don't see if you knew there was something on the other side for you, right? You wouldn't fear that. If you knew at the other end of this room is going to be a place for me, then you're not going to fear walking through the tunnel, right? Now, or let me correct that. You might have a little fear, but you will have more courage to get through that. You will keep moving through it. So, being spiritually well is absolutely important to get in alignment. Like when people think alignment, all they automatically think about God, but other things have to line up, right? Because you are representing what you're representing. So, spiritual alignment is needed. You need to know that you have a purpose. And that you're not going to discover it like right now. And also, your purpose is locked into your story. And yes, I'm going back there. Your purpose is locked into your story. When you look through the journey that you've already gone through and you look at the lessons that you've already picked up and you look at what makes you passionate about helping people in whatever way that you're trying to help people, your purpose is found there. And so when you are very clear on what it is that you're here to do, I'm very clear on helping, that I'm here to help people heal. I'm here to help people release what holds them back. I'm here to help people get into alignment with what their purpose actually is, because I don't want people nearly dying or dying, nearly dying as I did, or dying with what it is that they have, that what it is that's already been put inside of them. And the other part to that is through your voice, right? So I'm here to help people use their voice in whatever that capacity is. And so that's what I'm saying is figure out what your spiritual alignment is. So what is your purpose? A lot of times that means you have to get quiet and reflect. You have to see what you've already done. You have to see the lives you already touched, and you have to see the lessons that you've already accumulated and what you could do to help people with those lessons. The other thing is to see what your assignment is. And it's usually in the things that it has been consistently, right? So again, my assignment is about helping people find their voice. Why? Because I've dreamt about losing my voice. I have literally lost my voice, and I almost died without using my voice. So it has been very clear that I'm here to help people use their voice. I'm here to help people walk in their purpose and alignment. So figure that out for yourself. What have you been through? What is a consistent thing for you? What are the nuggets that have been, or the breadcrumbs that have been on your path, that has been in your way the whole time, that you have either overlooked or thought they were unimportant? And you will find that they really are not small things. They are huge things on their own. Right? So spiritual wellness is absolutely necessary for getting in alignment. When you know you're here to do something, when you know that at the end of the day, you want God to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," when you're able to embrace the talents and gifts that He's given into you, instead of going, "Oh, that was nothing." Like, I literally think about God, like when I used to just be like, "Oh, it was nothing." I always imagine God sitting on His throne or whatever, being like, "Nothing. What I gave you was nothing. Girl, do you want me to take that away from you?" And like I said, when He literally took my voice away from me, I was like, "Give it back, God, please." Please, I'll use it better. Okay. So consider the spiritual wellness, what it is for you. And then the next thing is going to be, and this is also where I'm like, what order is this? But the next thing is going to be your mental wellness. Y'all, this thing is big. This thing is big. Even when you know God got something for you, even when somebody done prophesied over your life or whatever it is, even when you have that desire and you've been exposed to the life that you want to have, baby, if your mental isn't there, if your mental isn't there, you will not own it. You will not appreciate it. You will not be completely in alignment. Now, I'm not saying you can't be successful financially along the way. You can. There are lots of people who have found success on that paper level, but they are not in alignment with themselves. Okay, so I don't want people thinking this is all about struggling stuff. This isn't. But this is about not being in alignment. This is about not walking in and fulfilling your purpose, right? So that mental stuff has to be there. I have seen some of the six-figure, seven-figure people have breakdowns because their mental's not there. They don't think they deserve the things that they've done, or they feel like they can't trust anybody. Listen, when you have your mental wellness together, when you understand that you are not only assigned, but you're worthy of the assignment. Like, I think of when I think of this, I think about Moses, right? Moses was, a stutterer and all those type of things. But when God said, "All right, I need you to do this," he didn't go, "I'm not going to do it." He questioned why he was the person chosen to do it, right? He might have questioned that. I've been questioning all along myself, and you may have been too. And you might have grown up in the church where they're like, "Don't question God." And I've learned differently, right? God wants to question so that He can show you the answers. Um, but you have to have that mental wellness of understanding that you were chosen. You were chosen to be this, and it's okay to not totally understand why you were chosen. But one of the best ways to, I feel like one of the best ways to check your mental is to go back and see all the things that you've done that make you worthy of it, that makes you deserving of it. As somebody once said, it was like, check your resume. And I don't necessarily mean like, your work situation. I mean, like your life. Look at those things that you have accomplished. Look at those things you've done when people said you couldn't do it, or even when you felt like you couldn't do it. When you check your resume, you start to realize that you're quite the badass. You start to realize that, okay, this is just that next level. And, you have these things about you that all of a sudden you're proud. Like the way that I teach brand story is I have people start with their story, right? And then they start to make the pivot to sharing with people as to how their journey can help them with a product that they have or a service that they have. But what I found happens to people that has happened to myself as well is that when I tell my story and I look back and talk about those struggles that I had and how I still made a decision that worked out. Um, and even in the fallout of what happened from that, like even in the struggle of still doing that, I start looking at myself different. I'm like, girl, do you understand what you just said? Like you went through this and this and this and this and that, right? Like whenever I told the story about being raped, and the thing is, like, it's not a story that a lot of people don't share. The statistics is 1 in 4 for women. I think 1 in 6 for men. But what I found is it's more than one. I think that's the number of people who haven't been. There's a lot of people who just aren't talking about it, right? So anyway, when I share that story of how I had swallowed 16 or 17 pills before this even happened, wanting to kill myself. And then God still woke me up the next day. It was like, go to school. I was like, yo, and I was pissed at God from that because I'm like, I'm trying to leave, and basically, I found, and he was like, but you can't leave yet. You got stuff to do. But anyway, from suicide to rape to becoming a mom as a result to the struggle of the next few years to becoming a mom again, having people tell me that I wasn't going to complete high school, I wasn't even going to go to college, and having to use their words and to fight. Thank God I have a stubborn nature. Um, Having to fight against that, and then finding out too that I also have ADHD. So I'm like, how the hell did I do this? And I was able to do it because I was so busy feeding off of their negativity. I was so busy. Like the people are like, you're so amazing. No, what you don't understand is I was breathing and feeding off of their negativity. And that is what was carrying me through. I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna prove you wrong. And so when that negativity dissipated, when I didn't have that to feed off of anymore, I was like, well, who the hell am I? What am I doing next? What do I do? Y'all tell me I can't do something so I can figure that out. You know? And it's really crazy because I never fed off of my own positivity. Um, and so that was something that I had to learn to do. That was part of my wellness journey. That was part of my mental wellness journey is what do I do now and how do I do it? And I am the person who can do that. I don't have to have somebody telling me no. I don't have to have somebody telling me that I'm not it. I get to tell myself that I am and that I am it. And I also already know because I check my spiritual what my purpose is and what it is that I'm doing, right? So, like, for an example, usually people are like, you got to have 60 to 90 days to launch. I understand that. Or actually, sorry, 90 days to 6 months to launch. I get it. I get it. I absolutely get it. But when I get an assignment, and my assignment is do this retreat, and it's in June. When I get an assignment to do it, I'm going to go do that. I'm not going to feed off your negativity. I'm going to feed off of the purpose and the assignment that was given over me. And so I'm having this retreat on June 24th through the 28th in Mexico to help people get in alignment, to help people release those things that are holding them back, be they physical, financial, spiritual, mental, or this last one, which is emotional. And so let's talk about emotional wellness real quick because I have to feel good, right? And I just put that in the wrong way. Um, but emotion is what carries us. Logic can tell us all it wants to do, but emotion is what carries us. And so, even though I felt and still feel kind of fearful holding a retreat by myself in a whole nother country, in one aspect of it, I also am feeling the emotion of the success of it. Like I already see the end result. Okay. This is part of what visioning is. It's not just writing it down. It's not just making it plain. It's also not just running, it's also celebrating it. I feel that celebration. So with my emotional wellness, I am tapped in to the goodness. I'm not going to allow those doubts that the negative wants to feed me because I am emotionally well. When some people say, like for instance, that they're emotional eaters, they're emotional bingers. Like if something goes wrong, they're grabbing something to eat. You want to be in a different place where if something goes wrong, you're grabbing a solution, you're figuring that out. Or if someone says something cross to you, you're not going to go snack it away. You're going to go and either figure out how to address it or how to throw it away. Like, I don't need this. This is yours, right? And that's also emotional wellness, is realizing when somebody else's bullshit is theirs and not yours. So you can have your emotional blockers on saying, you can keep that. I don't want that. I don't need that. Okay. And that's also what happened on my journey of alignment. Like I literally moved away from my home when I was 36. This was my first time living away from home. And emotionally at home, I was in an unstable place, like emotionally, because I had somebody who was using me, but discarding me. And that person was family. And so it made me feel like crap around myself. And I had the same type of people as friends, users who will also throw you away. Luckily, I had like one or two good ones that it was just like, you can do better. Again, exposure, right? So moving was my first step into emotional wellness, but I put this last because that was the last thing that I actually got, right? Is even though I moved, I found the same people online, those same people who were users and and discarders. I still found myself going, why won't you pick me? Why won't you pay attention? Is there only three people on my live? Like I drop a lot of good stuff. Why do like I'm sitting there in comparison factor, but now I'm in a place of emotional wellness. So it's like if I'm reaching one person, I'm in a good space. If I'm talking to one person and they make even a modicum of change or they find themselves in their lives, I'm in a good place. If I am doing everything, checking that list, getting my physical wellness, getting my financial wellness, being spiritually well, being mentally well, I am in a good place. So that is the hierarchy of alignment. When you know who you are and what you're here to do, you'll do it. And until you become completely clear, you still need to be exposed. You still need to have that desire. But, baby, you better put that all into action. Otherwise, it means nothing. So, how would you order it? That's what I want to know because I was sitting here like, But now I really think that emotional wellness really is the last piece, or at least it was for me. That order may be a little bit different for you, but that's like how my puzzle came together. So, yeah, Delmar said mental wellness in the season is wealth in itself. Yes, ma'am. Having it while in alignment, I believe, is an ultimate thing. Thank you. And that's how I also knew I was doing all right is that when the pandemic was happening and I was giving into the anxiety of it all, um, in March of last year, I mean, I was on Twitter. I never really used Twitter. I had Twitter for like 6 years or so, and I was never using Twitter. I was on Twitter every day, like almost 24 hours a day. Like I barely slept. I think I went to sleep around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning all the time. So I was in a mentally unwell, but mostly an emotionally unwell place because I was giving into all the anxiety of the world. Um, and then when the protests and the murders kept happening, I was still there, but then I found my voice. I was like, listen, I'm tired of seeing these things. Let's talk about them. And on top of that, like I watched coaches and things dismiss people, you know, where they were like, this is a pandemic. You should be all right. You should be here. You should be there. And I'm like, you're dismissing people. You're really dismissing people. You're dismissing the journey they're on because you're fine. And yes, there were pivots to be made, and people who made masks suddenly became thousandaires or even millionaires when they were people who were probably struggling before. So yes, those things were happening. People were making those pivots, but at the same time, if you were not in a place of wellness, um, being dismissed didn't feel good at all, right? Um, and so, like, what people don't understand is there is, it's kind of like climbing a mountain or deep sea diving. You have to adjust at every level or you will find yourself imploding or exploding, however it works. You know, so like for me, this racism stuff was very new. It wasn't until Trayvon that I saw it. Really, like I saw it in Spain when I went to Spain in 2001, but I was like, that's not in America. We good. But with Trayvon, it like really came home, especially when they were like, he used the sidewalk as a murder weapon. I was like, are you serious? The man literally had a gun and was tackling a kid and whatever. So I saw that, but then I saw all the white comments of people that I thought was friends. And then in Jamboree with the Michael Brown and the Eric Garners and the names that just keep going, like seeing all those people like creating the Blue Lives Matter stuff and all that stuff. And I was just like, what the heck? Like, you can't say all lives matter if this life doesn't matter. Like, whatever. So the whole point was for me, it took a lot of adjusting. It took calibrating because I was exposed to something that I didn't want, right? I didn't desire definitely to be judged by my skin. So it took some mental calibration. It like I slid into a depression. I didn't even realize. Yeah, it was just way too much. I didn't even realize how much that was happening. And when I got into entrepreneurship, that stuff wasn't changing. Even to the point where some Black people gave the advice to not put your face on your product, to, when you do your ads, to not put Black people on your ads because it will, disenfranchise people. And I'm like, how? I mean, so I had to get to a place where I was like, if you don't want to be with me because of the color of my skin, you don't want what I have to teach because of the color of my skin, that's your problem, right? So again, those emotional blockers had to go up and I had to learn it. But also, I think a lot of coaches didn't give people space to do that, to adjust to the depths or the heights that they were going. Um, and it's required. That adjustment is required. And so I disengaged from a lot of the coaches, a lot of the different spaces as I went on my own journey of alignment. And I'm there. And everybody has remarked on it, of like, you look much more relaxed, you look this, you look that. I'm like, no, I'm in alignment because I know what I'm here to do. I have all my wellnesses in check. Um, you know, and even when fear starts to ramp up, I literally pick up my book. I don't have it in here right now. I pick up my book and I go to God. I write out a journal of here's what's on my heart, here's what's on my mind, help me, and sort through it that way because I have to, like, you don't leave these levels behind. You go through each of them and you keep them with you. And so as you ascend into your success, because many of you will, like Delmar, for real, that whole thing that you created in your incubator or accelerator, that's going to be life changing. Um, so even as you ascend into your success, you're going to have to go back through this wheel, go back through these wellness levels and keep them in check, right? So your physical, you don't want to burn out. You don't want to give yourself too much. You want to sleep. You want to exercise. You want a vacation. Financial. You want to make sure that you have your things in place that you need to have in place. So all those things, all those different wellness checks, you're going to have to do again. And you're going to have to do again with every level that you ascend, so that you're not doing something like committing suicide when other people are like, oh my God, like you were so there. What are you doing there? Like, why would you do that? As we've seen over the last couple of years with successful people. So your wellness levels have to always be in check, just like on your car. You have to keep your oil up. You have to keep your all your fluids in check and all of them up. You have to, get that wellness check. And that's the same thing with you. So that is my hierarchy of alignment. When all those levels are being checked and you're continuing to put your action in alignment with your desire, then you'll be in alignment. And it doesn't matter what somebody else says. It doesn't matter what their rules are. It worked for them. Now, you try those things and you see if those work for you. But if they don't be resistant to walking away from it. All right, so that's it. Let me know if this was good for you. Let me know if there's anything else you would add to the hierarchy of alignment, or what order you would put that in. And also, if this was good, go ahead and give it a share so that other people can get their wellness in check too. Peace out.